But you had an evil twin, and you died and came back because you created some wonderful television movies, late 80s, 90s as well. Because you left the show for how long?
About 5 years.
Wow. Did you miss it?
Desperately. I went to do, you weren't even there yet. No, just kidding.
She would come in the studio like every year or so, just walk in and we'd be like, when are you coming back? When are you coming back?
I went to do Our House and then took a few years off just for personal reasons and then missed it desperately and came back.
So do the characters ever blur in your mind? You're reading this and going, I'm doing what?
I think with every new writer that comes in may have a little different take on the character, and you have played a character for so long that you feel very comfortable in his mannerisms. Then they may have you do things that go outside that box.
Is that good for you as an actor?
Well, it's very good to expand yourself, but you also have to have a lot of trust that if we're going to go outside that box, we better have a really good payoff at the end, because the audience has an emotional attachment with the character also, and wants that character to stay true to who they love. So you're also on that slippery slope.
What was the most out there thing that you did in terms of a character?
Well, there's...
And I'll ask each of you, before we take a break, I'll ask each of you the biggest stretch for you. Drake?
I've changed identities 11 different times. So let's move on.
Enough said.
Let's move on to her. Let's move on to her possession.
Yeah, I love Possession.
Yeah?
Possession was great. But it was also the Stalker story, where I got to kill everybody. I killed you first, didn't I, on camera? That was our first deal. That was so great. And Teo and I we're all such good buds, but we would lunch every day and had a desperate time with that killing. Because it was...
And you're most out there, character?
Probably when I'm fencing myself, you know. It's like masturbation.
Oh!
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Are you not allowed to say that?
Too much information, Teo.
No, it's
is it with
it
a
is when you
sword?
have to reverse.
With a sword. Explain this to me.
Don't encourage him, Drake. Don't encourage him.
Circumcision, right? Sword.
Oh, God.
He's talking swords here. What are you talking about?
Let me finish it. No, I think when I have to fence myself, when I play the two characters in the past that I have, turning around and playing one character and then turning around and making justification for the other and then changing the tone of the voice. I mean, all that at the same time almost. And that's very difficult. That's very trying. But I'm a person who likes to go to the edge. That's what makes me click. When it's dangerous, and that's why I take the journeys I do. I love to go to places I don't know about. When I know, it becomes mundane. So the trick to daytime, I think, is never taking it for granted, and it's always a fresh day. And the script, whether we set the same thing last week, we just give it a different tone the following day. So there's a lot of different techniques in which to make a character survive. And it's always difficult, but at the same time, it's your challenge.
Well, we have your wonderful producer going to join us, and I know you're the great traveller. You've got a wonderful social conscience in a lot of the work that you do. We'll find out a lot more about our guests this morning, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, the production of Days of Our Lives has really been this fabulous family affair, and I'll tell you the story behind that in just a moment. Thank you. It is a special day for us. The Days of Our Lives, the stars have joined us, and it first aired in the United States. It was 1965. It was the brainchild of the late Ted Corday, and his wife Betty took over the reins until she passed. And then their son Ken has been in the running, has been running the ship for the past 20-odd years. Ken Corday joins us, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ken Corday. Drake, Teo and Deirdre. As I said, a real family affair. You were literally brought into this business, and Days of Our Lives must have been your passion since birth, virtually.
Oh, no, hardly. It was, I was a teenager when the show started, and as a 14-year-old in those days, it was not cool to watch soap opera. So it took some coming to, but I was blessed to have the show left as a legacy and see myself as kind of the curator of the museum, so to speak. Keep the pictures clean and framed and let the beautiful viewers come through every day and watch it.
It is. We just discussed what a family affair. I mean, here's the boss, the guy who owns a production company, a great heritage with it. Is it that great a family?
Absolutely, my goodness.
Yes, I remember MacDonald Carey. I said, we haven't had a chance to speak. And he says, well, I don't do that often anymore. And I said, why? And he goes, because sometimes you have to leave. And that gets to be painful. So that, certainly, you do have your favorites, you know, those people that's just normal. But
well, one thing about MacDonald Carey is when you would see him, he would say, Drake, how are you? And when he said that, it was an opening. It wasn't like, how you doing? And I'd say, you know, I said, no, today's... He said, hold on, let me get a cup of coffee and come into my room, let's talk about it. And that was something that, when someone like that does that, you realize that it's an opening and they're
Somebody
embracing
says, how
it.
are you, and actually really wants to know.
Well, Jackson Browne has a song, people always ask you how you're doing because it's easier than letting on how little they could care. And that would come out. When he said, how are you, he meant it. You
I think the thing about Days also is we've been on the air for over 40 years. And we've been through a lot together as actors and as human beings. And we've had births and deaths and tragedies, and all of us, we've all shared those things. And it's brought us closer together over the years, and that's why we stand together as a family and a team.
And that must give you great joy, as well as a business. Let's face it, it is a business. But to have that camaraderie. OK, in terms of the plot lines, we were having a bit of fun with some suggest literally, or perhaps implausible plot lines. How does that work with your writers?
Well, they usually don't survive more than a year or two before they just throw up their hands and go, I can't do this again.
The lifespan of a writer is about a year.
Shorter than a patent tank, I think. It's just... it's a difficult thing to do. Being the writer of a show is a monumental task. It's extremely difficult for the cast to come in and do this day after day, but to put an hour's worth of paper in the typewriter or the computer every day and churn out 260 hours a year it's asking a lot of even the most talented writers, and we have to be careful to not stretch them out too much and burn them out, so to speak. The good ones are legendary. I mean, Mr. Bill Bell, who created The Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful, was responsible for making Days successful, and he learned from another great writer, Erna Phillips, who created the show with my father.
So what is the essence?
The essence.
When your father started this, followed by your mother, what is the essence of a show, a successful, as this is the most successful daytime show? What is it?
Well, it is basically about the redemptive power of love. When she looks in his eyes and the viewer goes, I could die. Marlena loves John so much. And whether it's the love of family or romantic love, that's what drives the show and keeps us all together.
Is that what your father taught you?
Well,
to be so bold?
that is really the way the wheel works, and you don't reinvent it. It's the way we love each other and show it. And she saves John, John saves Marlena, Tony really doesn't get saved too often. But there are three rules. The rule is you're only as good as your last show, and you can't rest on what you did last year. Second is that you have to love the business you're in. It's difficult to do 260 hours a year. But most importantly, you have to love the people you're working with. And not to sound a bit esoteric, but Days is a family. And we call it the Disneyland of daytime. There's great love amongst the cast and crew, and it gets us through in difficult times and great times. And it really is the secret, you know. No fear, just love.